Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It might be obvious that I moved, right? Yeah, because I did. I had a crazy August. I moved out from my old apartment of 6 years and into this new flat. And obviously my bookshelf is a complete mess, but we're not going to talk about it today. It's almost bedtime now on a Thursday night, and tonight I had this random thought of doing something normal, and I decided to make this video, you know, as a way to tell myself, yeah, I moved and it's time for a new phase. So, the book we are talking about today, there are actually a few novels and a few short story collections. I have only finished the first two short story collections, um, and let me summarize how good they are. So, a friend of mine took a photo of me reading this book on a dining table, crying. I was covering my face and I was like, what, what is it that I'm reading? And when I was reading the second one, which was a few days ago, it was so dramatically good. I had a relapse of vertigo, so I had chronic vertigo. I had a episode of vertigo the next day because I was crying too hard the night before. I just dropped my iPad and weeping. Even now, I still kind of feel a little dizzy, so we're gonna keep this video very short and hopefully sweet. So let's get in. The books we are talking about today is the Witcher series. If you are like me, aka not a fantasy fan, you might know the series from either the famous Netflix show or the video game. Which I got to admit, I only watched the Netflix show for Henry Cavill because just look at him. Alright. But in terms of the book series, this is the first time I read those pages. The series was first published in 1968. It revolves around a witcher, obviously, called Geralt of Rivia, how he hunted monsters and dangerous creatures and get on road with his friends and meet a lot of new people and solve a lot of crises. First of all, as I am giving my review, I want to apologize for being such a snob about fantasy literature. Before I read these two books, I actually gave my friend an eye rolling face. Why should I read a book about hunting monsters? They are not my cup of tea. I respect people's love of them, but it's just not for me. Well, I was obviously completely wrong. And for the following reasons, let me explain. So, to start with, the author, a Polish writer, Sapkowski, wrote in an incredibly poetic and beautiful way. He chose his words extremely cautiously, which I think the translator also contribute because I read the Chinese version and I think they were fantastic. But my friend read the English version and he said it was not that good. So this is the first thing I have noticed about the books, the way he writes. It's highly literary. He left every story in a cold, void, dark, and quiet space. He had a very special stoic tone. The plots were heavy, I think, because it covers a lot of serious topics, but he found a way to lightly put it, which I think it made a great combination, a balance between the plots and the writing. And of course, the plots. Oh my god. I have only read the first two short story collections, so I can only talk about The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny. A large part of them are the retelling of all the fairy tales that we know. Snow White, the Mermaid, all that kind of fairy tales. He blends folklore, humor, and dark stories into a morally gray, fantastic world. It's bloody, the story is, it's violent, it has paragraphs of writing about how he chops the dangerous creatures and split it. It's very raw. It hits you unexpectedly. Gerald, although I am a huge Henry Cavill fan, and I imagine his face all the time when I was reading this, he still made some very stupid mistakes. He did some very stupid things in the stories. Sometimes what he did just made me want to punch him in the face. He is a monster slayer who's constantly questioning morality, free will, and fate. He's not particularly friendly, at least from the two books that I have read. He's a lone wolf. He has trouble communicating with people, let's just put it that way, which I think all these things combined gave another layer of the story to help it develop from something that's just a fantasy story into something, sometimes even a philosophical discussion of what's right and wrong. The smaller good, the bigger evil, do you really have free will? That kind of questions. Also, I think at this point I should share which story in these collections that made me weep and had vertigo because it was just so. I always consider myself a strong person when it comes to reading. I know that some of the stories we talked about in this channel are not exactly easy, light bedtime reading, but A Little Sacrifice, that's the short story's name, A Little Sacrifice broke me. It literally. Okay, have you ever thought about this question? Would you still choose the path down this rabbit hole if you knew you were bound to be heartbroken? This is a topic that was repeatedly discussed in literature books. Like one of my favorite short stories of all time, Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. But I didn't knew a story like this would hit me this way in such a fast, strong, unpredictable way. It was like a car that ran through me. By the time I got to the last few sentences, it almost gave me an existential crisis because it made you realize that life can end in such a meaningless way. Something I never thought I would explore, a topic like this in a fantasy story. And by the time I finish this story, there's nothing I want to do than drop the story and give a good cry. Because I don't think anyone can come out from that story alive. I'm not exaggerating. Also, my emotional review aside, as a female reader, something really caught my eye when reading this. Sapkowski provided a very interesting and feminist angle when building his female characters. A lot of his female characters are strong, beautiful, powerful, emotional, and not afraid to show and use their intelligence and anger and lust and love to get themselves what they want, which deeply impressed me. Again, I need to apologize for thinking that a fantasy story that written 40 years ago could only be patriarchal. These female characters are powerful and independent women who have their own minds and not afraid to voice out, to fight, and to fight for themselves. In one of the stories in the first book, you can see a fierce and angry Snow White, who I thought is the best example of how a woman would react against the world if you or someone provoked her. Yennefer, who was Gerald's girlfriend in the story, is an incredibly powerful and beautiful witch who is not afraid to argue with him, show her opinions, and do things in her way. From the first time she showed up in the story, she is a very strong character and no one can bend her will. And they had great chemistry. They banter, they fight, they keep looking for the answers of their own lives in each other, which I found extremely entertaining. Of course, A Little Sacrifice aside. Don't ask me to explain this. Just go read it. You will understand. I I also want to say I didn't really enjoy the Netflix show. I watched season one, most of the season one. It was adapted in such a complicated way that my friend had to sit there with me, beside me, to explain things, the plots, the characters, that it didn't make it easy for me to get inside the world. Though I genuinely enjoy reading the stories, the books, it's just okay, the A Little Sacrifice hit me too hard. I think I need some extra time to recover from it. So for now, it's impossible for me to open the pages again. But I really genuinely enjoy making this video because I wanted to tell how great it was and what I think of it. So that's my short and hopefully sweet book video when having a vertigo. It's almost bedtime here. Hope you enjoyed this short and hopefully sweet video. I watched The Thursday Murder Club on Netflix the day it came out with a huge expectation to enjoy the show. But now all I can think about is making a video venting about it. It's a okay movie, I guess. It was an averagely good movie, but I like the characters. All the four people are very cute, but where are my plots? Where are my schemes? Who exactly is solving the case, and why casted someone like that to play Bogdan? I don't understand. Well, now let's just leave it there, but surely there are some things I wanted to say about it. And obviously, I really, really need to sort out my bookshelf. But that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Good night to you too, and hopefully see you next time.